It's Monday. Hey guys, so I'm going to be starting off with this screen. I hope it's okay for those of you who do get here early. For those of you who are coming a bit late, you probably won't realize it. I'm just setting this up because it helps me. So, for those of you who weren't here the last live stream that I did, I was kind of explaining a little bit on the software that I use. So I use Streamlabs OBS. Guys, if you guys are doing if you guys are doing, I think podcasts, yeah, if you guys are doing like live podcasts, actually, I got to record this now that I'm, okay, cool. If you guys are doing live podcasts, if you guys are, let's see, yeah, live podcasts, or you guys just want to get on a multi-platform, obviously it depends what software you're using, but like if you were to use OBS, it's a brand new foundational platform. So it's a Streamlabs OBS is an amazing software if you want to use to multi-stream. So right now I'm streaming right now currently to Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, which reminds me, this is why I have the thing that I'm doing right now. I have this thing on OBS saying, hey, I'm gonna go live, starting soon. I have that for a reason. It's not like I'm not prepared. It's not like I don't want you guys to see me. I could care less about that. It's more like, okay, now that I'm live, let me make sure everything is running how it's supposed to be. So again, those of you guys who are joining right now, I just want to tell you that I love you and I appreciate you so much. You're amazing, okay? Yeah, so let's get into this, you guys. Let me check some stuff out on my phone as far as live stream, making sure that I'm running well. Let's see. Okay, and I should be starting here in a bit. Again, I just want to make sure, you guys, that I'm that obviously I'm live, that I could hear myself. Okay, so I'm good right there. I'm gonna check on. Okay, so I'm live on there. And like you would think, okay, well, like, shouldn't you like already know? Like as far as like shouldn't you already know that you're good? And it's like, well, no, because there's technical difficulties, and I promise you, once you start getting into them, they start multiplying if you don't handle it right then and there. So something I enjoy doing is I enjoy ¿cómo se dice? I enjoy going to my Facebook page and just sharing it from there, to give myself some support, because obviously, so I think on my Facebook page I have like I have like 80 followers, right? What's it called? Obviously, followers aren't the goal. Like, it's cool like to have like one follower or like 1,000, but it's like, like it's just a number at the end of the day, right? Because at the end of the day, it's just more about the impact that you have than what you have on the outside, what you have on the frame. Okay, it's like it's one thing for a card to look really nice on the outside, but if the inside is just full of gunk, I don't want to sit in there. You know what I mean? Anyways, let's get to this. Super excited. Gonna be starting here like in about like a minute. I just gotta pull out my notes, making sure that we're running well. Again, for those of you who are coming right now, just want to tell you that I'm so thankful for you. I love you guys. God bless you guys. Today we're going to be talking about the topics on what's it called? Today, we're gonna try to get into it, right? So like last time, if you were here for last live stream, I'm gonna turn on my camera right now. Honestly, I don't like the way it looks right now. I feel like, and this is like me, like just being harsh, because as a photographer, as someone who has video experience, I like lighting, and I have like lighting at home, and I was gonna like use my flashlight. I was like, like why not? But like, okay, so here's the thing. So if you use lighting from your phone to get to give yourself like, to like, because this right here, like you would think it's just my face, but from how I'm seeing it is, it's dark right here, and then there's a, like, you might think it's like, okay, well that's how his face look, and it's like, no, like it's just shadows, and like I could use my phone, but the problem with that is, oh geez, I don't want that. The problem with that is that if you use your phone's flashlight, it produces a lot of shadows that I promise you, you do not. No, no, no. It produces a lot of, sorry, a lot of bad clarity. Like it'll make your face look so harsh and so not soft, and you want that. Like as a photographer, I'm speaking from photographer experience. I'm speaking from a videographer's experience. It's like you want that softness. Obviously, there's an extent. There's obviously an extent to everything, but that's where you want to be at when it comes to like how you look on the camera. And I've been thinking about bringing one of my lights in. Unfortunately, I had to get going from my house early this morning because tengo unos compromisos. There's some things that I have to do today. There's some people that I have to meet with. Um, and and well, I didn't have time to grab it because it's not like it's a lot of lighting, but it's like it's kind of bulky, and it adds extra steps, something that I was not prepared for, because obviously God makes time for everything, right? Like I think on the last live stream, one of the things I was talking about is, look, if you have time for worry, you have time for prayer, and like that hits hard, right? Because it's like, man, like, well, it's like God sees me though, because God God like knows what I'm going through. Um, he he knows what I'm going through, so obviously he knows that I'm worrying for a certain reason. So obviously it's important enough for me to worry. And it's like, okay, like take a step back. God isn't saying by any means at any time or in any way that's just out of your assumption that what you're worrying about isn't important. I do believe on one hand that he is saying, look, like I get that you're worrying, but when you got baptized and you gave your life to me, you became my child. You could be 80, 20, 30 years old, 10 years old. It doesn't really even matter to God because, like, what's God's age? Like, it's infinite. And you're still a child in God's eyes, in the sense of He knows your needs, our needs. So, like, why wouldn't He take it into consideration? Okay, like, why, right? And it's so easy for us to get so caught up in worrying that, like, we forget that we have a loving Father who knows that we have needs, worries, and understands. And, like, just like any father, He wants us to trust Him, right? And, so it's very important that as we go through our walk in Christ, that we trust God, not because it's something we ought to do, but because when we worry, imagine you as a parent, if you are one, if you had a child who was calling from school and said, well, no, imagine you had a child in school, right, and the teacher or the principal called you, and they asked you, is everything okay? You're like, okay, something's going on. You're calling me from my child's school, and you're asking me if everything's okay. I'm the parent. Why are you asking that? And you're like, okay, well, your child is worried sick. And he's like, and you're just like, as a parent, you're just like, what the heck? Like, why is my child worried sick? And he's like, well, he's worried that he's not going to have food. He's worried he's not going to have shelter. He's worried he's not going to have his necessities met. Necessities. And I say necessities because a lot of us have wants, and then a lot of us have necessities. Two different things, okay? And you're just like, as a parent, you're just like, okay. Like, that not only makes you look bad as a parent, but that's also like, why is my child worried that he won't have this? He already has this. And so, like, that's one of the beauties of this. It's, as children of God, this is exactly how God is. When we worry, it's like we're putting shame to his name in a way. And I don't say, when I'm saying this to everyone listening, I don't say this in the sense of I'm perfect, I don't worry, and you guys need to fix yourself. That's not at all what I'm saying. What I am saying, though, is we should look at ourselves before we begin to worry, because it's important that we consider how God feels, because we're children of God, right? Not only that, we're made in his image, in the sense of, like, I think about a week or two ago there was a Bible study with the youth, and something we were talking about is is one of the meanings of what it means to be made in his image. It's like, okay, ask yourself right now, what does it mean to be made in his image? You're like, okay, well, you might say, well, I have characteristics of God, and you might come up with a list of things, or maybe you might come up with just one thing, and that's okay. I'm not trying to test you right now. That's not at all what I'm doing. I'm saying, take this into consideration. Just as you were made in his image, so you also embody the fact that just how God has feelings, you have feelings too. But sometimes we can get so caught up in our mind, in our whole universe, in our earth, in our world, that we don't realize that God is an actual being too, and that he came down to this world in the embodiment of Jesus Christ. And he worried too. And so it's something that's very important that you should consider. Anyways, let's go on from that. I'm planning to stop this live stream like around, I want to say 12:35, but because I don't want to cut it that short, because I love spending time with you guys, is we'll do 12:40. I think that should give me enough time to get to where I need to be on time without being late and also being early. With that said, let's get into this, you guys. Super excited. I'm gonna go on Instagram really quick, make sure that if, in case that there's anyone watching or anything, I can reply back. And yeah, because I could see everyone's chat from the multiple um, live streams that I'm in, except for Instagram. So I want to keep them in mind, because obviously I don't want to just do this and, like, obviously, like, if someone comments, like, I'm gonna, like, it might take me a day, it might take me 2 days or 3 days. Hopefully it'll take me way less than a day. If you comment, I'll try to get back to you, because you matter to me. So let's get to this, you guys. Cool. All right, so let's start with so we didn't get to finish, because since then, so many thoughts have been coming into my mind on this, because last time we talked about it, but I don't think we were able to finish it, because there was this gentleman whose name is Lona, which means John. He's from Romania. He was having such an amazing we were having such an amazing conversation. Like, he was on Twitch, and it was like if you guys watch it, it's like my last live stream. It was out in the middle of the dark. It was amazing. I enjoy chatting with you guys. I enjoy hearing your ideas, your inputs, because that's what it means to be human. We share our ideas and we grow. It's like, try to come across someone who hasn't grown from someone else's ideas or principles or whatever. You will not find it. And I don't care if you say, oh, well, I'm not part of that category. It's like, well, newsflash, are you walking on the ground? It's like, okay, have you ever been to the hospital? It's like, if you've ever used anything in this world, even the bed that you sleep on or anything like that, or anything of that sort, it's like, yeah, it's like, maybe you don't talk to people, but you definitely use something that was made from someone. It's like, and even then, it's written in our DNA. it's like you can only be so caught up within yourself that like there's an extent, you know. Let's go on with this though. Ready? So let's talk about prayer really quick. So something that I'm doing right now is I'll ask myself, because recently what I would do is I would I would come up with these points to talk about, and it's cool, but I feel like in my mind I was trying to think about it long term wise. I'm like, okay, I feel like I can only talk about so many points for so long, because there's not a lot that I know of. I'm like I'm like a baby. Like there is so much to this world. There's so much knowledge. It's crazy. But it's like if you try to focus on one thing that you know about wholeheartedly, it's like then maybe you might know just a bit more than everyone else. And obviously, obviously, I read the Word of God. I I know a bit about clothing. I know a bit about photography, videography. I don't know everything. I come across professionals, not all the time, but every now and then, and I'm always dumbfounded by what I don't know. And like on the contrary, like I might tell them something that they don't know, right? And so it's all a learning experience, but I find it much better to do these like live streams if I come up with a question and then we both go off of that. We share our ideas off of that, and you guys might have something to say, or you might not. I know I'll have something to say. Like, I talk with my friends and my best friends all the time on this. It's like one of the reasons why I have a channel, why I have you guys, is because, like, I really enjoy talking. It's like, dude, I talk a lot. Like yesterday, I was talking with this nice young lady. Um, or I guess I count Car Lady, right? Cause she was pretty young. But the point is that we were going back and forth and having just conversation, and and it's like, well, we can go on forever. It's like eventually, I think I said it like two or three times. I was like, okay, we gotta stop talking, because it's really late right now. Let's meet up another day, right? Like if you're interested. And then like conversations continue, but it's like when we can talk to each other in conversations that we're both equally interested in, or maybe you don't have a lot of confidence in what you're talking about, but it's like at least you can ask questions. I feel like we undermine the meaning of questions sometimes, because questions help you understand, right? Like think about that for a moment. It's like obvious, it's obvious. But it's like, okay, you try heading into a room where there's high elitists, where there's really smart, renowned people, whatever, and you have one person talking. He's saying things that are so out of your vocabulary, or you don't even understand everything. It's like you might think that you're surrounded by a room of high elitists or whatever, but it's like you might come up with a question like, what the heck is this guy talking about? And if you ask that question, there's a very high possibility that a whole bunch of other people in that room might have the exact same question. But if you ask enough dumb questions, you're not dumb anymore. We're not dumb anymore, right? It's like, so I find it so important to ask, like, and like I'm gonna put myself here for a moment. It's like I ask really dumb questions sometimes, and I don't feel dumb asking them, but I'm like I let the listener know. It's like, dude, I'm about to ask you like something that I feel like is a really dumb question, but I'm gonna ask it to you anyways because I do not know and I do not understand. What does this mean? And they're like, dude, I'm glad you asked that. This is what this means. Obviously not. I don't think everyone is that friendly, right? But sometimes you might come across people who are friendly, you know, because I don't think everyone is a tyrannical, narcissistic person. But I feel like, especially like maybe like for introverts, like um, I've been talking about like to some friends recently, and I think that I am, because like I don't like to consider myself an extrovert, and I don't really like to consider myself an intro. Like I don't like to consider myself an extrovert or an introvert. I feel like I'm more in the middle. And the reason why I say that is because it's like, okay, well, like let's consider for a moment what an introvert is. Okay, I feel like the way I understand it is, and the way I've read it from other people is, if you're an introvert, you will lose energy from being with other people. You will be exhausted at the end of the day. Being an extrovert is you gain energy from being around other people. It's like you know who you are. But but let's say you don't feel like you're on either side. Personally, I feel like I'm in the middle. And that's called an ambivert. At least if I'm pronouncing it correctly. That's called an ambivert. An ambivert is just someone in the middle of that, because personally, I enjoy being with other people and I get a lot of energy, but I know that throughout the day or even at the end of the day, I need to have my alone time. I gotta be by myself. Not because I don't want to be with other people, but I get so exhausted sometimes. Because, like, again, like, I enjoy being with other people. I enjoy having conversation. I enjoy being outgoing. I enjoy helping people feel welcomed. But just as I enjoy being with them, I also enjoy being alone by myself and just not being alone with my thoughts. Although I think that's important as individuals that we do to a certain extent, but I do enjoy just like meditating with God or meditating and reading books. And I think a lot of us don't consider that into consideration. Anyways, guys, um, let's get back into the topic. Thank you guys for listening. So the question that I have was the question where I wrote down from the last live stream, but I don't think I was able to finish it, is okay. So like, let's get into like questions and thoughts on prayer and the importance of it. I won't get into this too much because I talked about it in my last in my last live stream. But as far as prayer, you guys, it's like, okay, ask yourself, why is it important to pray? Like seriously, ask yourself, why should I pray as a Christian? And if you're not Christian, then maybe you could tell a Christian friend about this if you have one. But it's like, okay, like, why should you pray? It's like, okay, you pray to get alone with the Father. And you pray because you pray so that your works, which are done in secret, and God sees them as the Father, He could reward you openly. Because when you talk to God in your own private closet, God sees that. He rewards that. Because you're making time for Him. And some of us do not understand the importance of that. I think a lot of us really, like, I come across people sometimes who go to church or call themselves Christians or whatever, like, and I say whatever, you guys, because like I feel like the term Christian is so oftenly thrown around. I'm just like, I'm just a follower of Christ, bro. It's like, I'm on this marathon and I'm running, and I walk sometimes because it gets difficult, and sometimes I stop and I get caught up in a slope that's going downward, and it's regressing me from the progress that I just made. But but our faith is a marathon. Consider that. Like I want you to really know what, like take that in and consider what that means. Your faith in Christ is a marathon. It's not something that you're like, okay, like what can God do for me? It's like, okay, like how can I get closer to God? And then we expect it to get it done within a day or 2 weeks or a month. And it's like, no, your life with God, if you're a child of God, meaning if you gave your life to Him, getting baptized in water, you made in a one way, like a vow, a promise, saying, God, I'm gonna run this marathon, and I'm gonna run it with you every day, and I'm gonna run it joyfully the best I possibly can. And a lot of us don't take that into consideration. A lot of us might say, well, I did all of this. What can God do for me now? Second Timothy 4:7. I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. That's amazing, Andrew. I love that. Yeah, and it's something that comes time and time again. Like I'm reminded right now, I don't know why. So there's this moment in the book of Numbers, right? And you see it in the book of Exodus as well. And well, these people are rebelling towards God. And God eventually says, everyone who's talking smack right now is never gonna set foot onto the promised land. I'm gonna make sure that you guys don't even live to see it, pretty much. And so when you read in the book of Numbers, you eventually come across that all the 600,000, I think, plus people that were once alive and that God took out of Egypt, they got to see all of his miracles. They got to see how God provided. They started talking smack to God. And God did what he promised. Not a single one of them set foot, or I think even got to saw the promised land. I just got done reading this off of the book of Numbers. And so I think that was like 600,000 plus people as far as adults, as far as men, not even considering women, as far as men that never got to see that. But it's the marathon. It's like I've been listening to these ultra runners, right? I listen to them every now and then. I hear the preparation that they have to go through to run 50 miles, 230 miles, like all within like 24 hours or 48 hours. And I'm just like, man, the preparation that one has to go through. And if you're not prepared to run this marathon, it's very difficult to stay in it. And it's very easy to say, I want to go to the hospital right now. I want to throw in the towel because this is getting too hard. And it's like, well, yeah, you're right. The race wasn't meant to be easy. The race, the way I kind of imagine it right now. It's like I imagine that like God calls everyone to run this race, but not everyone will be up for the task. Because it's not an easy race I don't, it's, first of all, it's not even an easy race to get into. Because, okay, let's consider it. Let's take a step back. What does it mean to get into the marathon? What does that mean? One thing it means for sure is die to yourself and crucify the flesh. And man, that is difficult. Crucify the flesh. Put your own selfish morals or desires away and consider me is what kind of God is. It's like kind of like what God is saying. It's like put yourself away and run this race for me, for my son, and for other people. Like something that God has been speaking to me daily. I mean, that God has kind of been one of my favorite scriptures, Hebrew 12:11. Thank you for putting the verses and the scriptures and everything, brother. Thank you, Andrew. No discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Produces a harvest of righteousness for those who have been trained by it. Wow, look at that. But painful, but produces a harvest of righteousness for those who have been trained by it. Wow. So let me ask you a question, because reading this right now, I don't have the whole scripture in front of me at the moment. I don't mind getting it in front of me right now, but I want to ask you personally, Andrew. So just because there's the one word that struck me just reading this on the second sentence that says, but produces a harvest of righteousness for those who have been, this is the word I'm trying to understand, trained by it. What do you think that means to you personally? Like, if God has revealed it to you, or if you understand it, what does that mean, do you think? As far as like the word trained, it's like, but produces a harvest of righteousness for those who have been trained by it. Trained. Man, like that's amazing. Like just consider that. It's I'd love to hear a response too. Right now I'm just kind of talking, and I'll hopefully, if you can, if I can get, a response, that'd be amazing, because I'd love to get your point of view. The more I hear you, the more I see your chats, the more I talk to you in person, the more I get to see of how I think there's another word, but just because this is the only word that's coming into my mind right now, the more I realize how of an awesome guy you are. Okay, I think that means that if you stick through it, if you persevere, okay. So trained, not in the sense of, so it's not saying in the sense of you've been training all these years, now you're ready for it. It's more in the sense of, in another way, it's kind of like a verb in a way, right? Where it's like you stuck through it, you persevered, and then you'll eventually reap the countless benefits and strengthening in many. Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, in a way, it's kind of like you train your mind. But this train, it's kind of like the word train is kind of saying you're going at it constantly. Yeah, that's beautiful. Well, because that has to do kind of like with the crucifying of the flesh, right? You're training your body, you're training your mind, your heart, saying, I don't, for those fasting, I don't want to have that donut today. No. I'm going to put that aside, and I'm going to please God. And so you train your mind. It's like giving. And God calls us to be cheerful givers. So we obey. We don't reactive discipline. and giving. But the giving also changes us. It literally changes how we think and act. We practice discipline. Oh, okay, okay. Oh, no, no, no. Dude, bro, don't even be sorry for the typos. Thank you for mentioning that. But regardless, I'm very thankful for you just chatting, for you setting the time out of your day right now, whether it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and you just making the time out of your day to be on this live stream and having a having a conversation and just chatting, because that's what it's about. It's right. It's about like learning and growing on each other. I don't want to get sidetracked because I can go on for that for a good minute. Um, I want to reread that though. To be cheerful givers, so we. Okay, okay, okay. God calls us to be cheerful givers, so we obey. We don't practice. Oh, practice, not reactive. Practice discipline and giving. Okay, okay, okay. That makes sense now. Okay, thank you, thank you. Sorry, I say sorry. Well, I guess I kind of mean it. Like, I guess for those of you new to who I am very, not very, but I can be a slow thinker because I want to understand what something is saying. You might say, well, you're overthinking it. It's like, okay, well, you obviously don't know me enough. No, I just want to really take it into consideration because I don't want it to just be something else that I read. I want to take it in because this matters. Um, but going with that, yeah, practicing discipline. You know, one way my stepfather puts it is, you know, when you give, you crucify the flesh because you're putting something that you worked really hard for and you're giving it to the church. And I agree with that. But now I want to get your guys' point of view on this. But are you still disciplining the flesh if it's not something that hard to give? I mean, if it's not something that painful to give, because obviously there's a love of money for those who have it, you know, and it's obviously a sin, but obviously worrying is a sin too. So it's so easy to point at someone else when you have 1,000 fingers pointing back, right? But but yeah, it's like okay, like it disciplines the flesh in some regards, but it's like okay, well, what about the people that it doesn't really hurt them to give because they don't mind giving because they understand and see that it has a purpose for it, you know. So I agree with what my stepfather says, or just not what my stepfather says, but just the phrase in general that it crucifies the flesh in some sense. But I feel like it has its extent, you know, because I don't believe everyone has a I seriously don't believe that everyone has a strong desire for money and a love for it. Although I'm not saying that it's fake and that it doesn't exist. But I'd love to get your guys' response on that. You know, and if you guys can't respond right now, if you guys want to think about it, or if you guys even want to message me on it, you know, I'd love to have a conversation with you even offline and just not only to get to know you better, but to just get your ideas on this. Anyways, you guys, we didn't like finish the topic, but we had a conversation. We had a chat. And I believe that's important because I believe we all want to be listened to. Right now I'm kind of just sharing my ideas, but the point is that I don't mind reading your comments. I don't mind talking with you because for one, again, and I'll continue saying this, however annoying it is, you matter. But it's like two, it's like, you know, There's so many people that I come across sometimes, and they don't feel heard. And so I sit down with them and I listen. You'd be surprised what that can do. I love you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys so much for listening. You are very appreciated, and I hope you guys have a blessed day. God bless you.